It's the Darley Dewhurst Stakes, and all eyes are on Expert Eye. Just how short is he now, Frank?
He's 4-7. Emirati's 4-1. US Navy Flag 8-1. Seahenge 9-1, and we're 25s bar.
Okie doke, Brendan, you can go first. Can this Fav be beaten, and if so, by who?
I found it very difficult to see him beaten, Bruce. He looks the real deal. He was visually impressive. The form looks solid of the race in Goodwood. Obviously I won't be backing him at 4-7, but I wouldn't like to be laying him either.
How good do you think he is, Brendan, in the grand scheme of things?
Well, I think he's the best two-year-old colt we've seen this season. It will depend on how strong a stayer he is. He's quite speedily bred and what have you. But I think he'll get the mile. That was the two-year-old performance of the season so far. I don't think. Well, I'd find it hard to argue against that anyway. I did have one maybe for betting without purposes or each way at a price.
Jolly good. Far away.
Okay, so there's a horse of Aiden's, a Warfront horse, called 3 4/4. He's about 33-1, which I don't know, equates to about 10 or 12-1 betting without. He was second in a decent maiden up the current on debut. We know how much Aiden's improved for debut. He didn't improve. He went to Fairy House, but he missed the break. He got messed around. It was a big field. He was thrown all over the place. And the curious thing about this horse is that both his runs have been on either yielding to soft or soft ground, and he's a Warfront, so you'd expect him to step forward for the better ground. And I thought at a double-figure price without the Fav, or if you wanted to be really speculative, at 33-1 each way, he was maybe a play.
Nice little angle there, Brendan. Thank you. Paul Keeley, what's your view on the Dewhurst?
Yeah, it's very, very hard to knock the Fav, isn't it? I mean, when Sir Michael Stout says he's excited and he wins the Vintage Stakes by 4.5 lengths and the form works out that well, you know, third place Mildenberger was third in the Royal Lodge. Fourth place James Garfield was second in the Ake and won the Mill Reef, and then the fifth Seahenge has won the Champagne Stakes. You really can't argue with the form. Now, he did miss the National Stakes with a bad scope, so you know whether he's spot on or not, we don't know. But I mean, it's very, very hard to see him get beat. The fact that we've got a maiden winner who's only just run to a Racing Post rating of 93 at Newbury, as second favourite in Emirati, just tells you that it isn't the strongest race in the world. I think if you want an each way bet, then there's nothing wrong with US Navy Flag. He's won the Middle Park. There's no reason on earth why he won't get 7 furlongs. But it's all about watching and seeing how good this Expert Eye is. Okie doke. And Frank, what about you? Have you got a bet here or not? You're just going to watch and learn?
I'm going to watch Expert Eye. I think he's an absolute machine. Some rumours that he did a big piece of work last week against another 2-year-old that won a nursery and beat at the sort of distance you'd see at Chepstow at Christmas. So if he repeats that kind of thing, you can't have him beat him. Now, I know as well that the vibes are very strong about this Emirati of John Gosden. He was eye-catching on debut, where he was out the back, where probably was against him to be held so far off the pace. And he went and won easily at Newbury next time, but he still has only won a maiden. And he'll need to step up a fair bit. Like, even look at Goodwood when Expert Eye won so easily. That race couldn't have worked out any better with like James Garfield winning, Seahenge winning, Middleburg won a listed race. Like, it's as strong as form as you can get. Now, if I was going to have a bet, just with Jim Bulger's record in the race, he's had 5 winners in the last 10 years, I think, and 3 other horses that didn't win were all finished, or 2 of them finished third at massive prices, and his Theobald is wearing cheapies for the first time. He's not good enough to win, but I thought, like, in the betting without, he might be 12 or 14 or something. It wouldn't be the worst way to throw away a 5 each way.
What sort of prices are Expert Eye for the Classics next year?
We're 4-1 for the 2,000 guineas.
4-1, blimey, O'Reilly. Okay, let's rattle through the rest of a really, really high-class Newmarket card. It's absolutely great. It's on ITV4. And the 150 is the Godolphin Flying Start Zetland Stakes. No prices yet, so we'll get some tips. Kills, you go first.
Yeah, it's funny this. I was having a look at past results of this race, and Aidan O'Brien has never won it, which is a surprise, really. And then I started looking at it. I thought, well, let's have a look, see what he's run in it. And the first one I came to was Wings of Eagles, who got beat last year. So I can't say he never runs a good horse in the race. No, I think Kew Gardens is absolutely nailed on to get the trip and improve for it. And he's got the best form anyway, so keep that one short. I think he'll win.
Kew Gardens for Kills. Who for you, Brendan?
Yes, Kew Gardens, he's a bit of a boat, but this is a race that suits boats. He was still green in Leopardstown. The slow pace was no good for him in the Beresford, although he was too slow. He wouldn't have won anyway. I thought the extra 2 furlongs would be right up a street and he'd be hard to beat.
How about you, Frank?
It's not a race I'd have a bet in. I priced this morning. Yeah, Aidan's record, it's not great, but Kew Gardens sets a decent standard.
What sort of price is he going to be?
He'd be south of 2 to 1, and I'd say probably be somewhere about 6 to 4 or something. I would be thinking. Yeah, if Westerland was a massive price, if you put a gun to my head, I might chance him, but I probably won't have a bet in this race. John Gosling won the race last year with Coronet, and the year before he had. Was the year before? Maybe I think he had a placed horse in the last 3 years as well. But yeah, it's a race I'll sit out.
Okay, it's responsible gambling week, so we certainly won't be putting guns to people's heads and forcing them to have a bet. 2.25 at Newmarket is the no, it's not. It's the Massa Godolphin Autumn Stakes, a Group 3 over a mile. What's the latest betting, Frank? And who do you fancy?
Yeah, Goliath is 15 to 8, Purser 4 to 1, Zabrisk 9 to 2, Waffy 7 to 1. Arbalete 10 to 1, along with Dream Today, Flag of Honour, and 14 to 1 Petrus.
Who wins?
I think I didn't do this race Antipode, so I think Purser should be fav. He was unlucky in the Solario. I think he may well have gone very close, but he had no luck in running. He went then and absolutely bolted up at Linkfield. I think was that Robert Havlin's first run back.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, the Godolphin horse, that's fav. It's only won a maiden. He's open to plenty of improvement. But yeah, this Purser at 4 to 1. It's a knock in each way bet. I'd say get it now. This won't be 9 to 4. I'd say tonight.
How many runners are we?
Got the 8. The one we got one on run already. Dark Claim, but we've got the 8. Yeah.
Kills, what do you reckon?
Yeah, I quite like Goliath. I liked him on his debut when he was miles too keen, and he was a lot better in a hood. Second time, won very easily. I don't think he beat much, but I get the impression he's really, really well thought of. Purser is the danger. I don't think it's the strongest Group 3 in the world. I don't think the Group 3 that Purser ran in was a particularly strong one either. But it's Goliath for me. But it's not my sort of punting race.
Brennan, is it a punting race for you?
I think I will have a few quid. I think I'll have a few quid on Zabriskie.
Do you know who he's named after?
There was a Dave Zabriskie was a cyclist.
Correct.
He won a Lance's men.
Correct.
All right. Oh yeah. I might chance a few quid on Zabriskie. If ever a horse could win a snug head, if there is such a thing, he did it at Tipperary. Wasn't expected. I think he'll step up again, and he's Aidan's chosen one, so I will choose him.
Right, the 340, the Betfred Cesarewicz. Now, last week, Kills, everyone absolutely loved you on Twitter because you basically told us Dark Anna couldn't get beat and Dark Anna won, and afterwards there was a lot of Twitter love for you. Today, I doubt there will be a stronger case made for a horse on this broadcast than the one that Frank Hickey is about to make for one of the runners in the Cesarewicz. Go on, Frank, away you go. Who is it?
Do you want me to give you the betting first?
Yeah, we'll have the betting. Go on.
Yeah, John Constable is 8 to 1 fav. Lagos to Vegas, Withhold are both 10 to 1. Who Dares Wins and Time to Study 12 to 1. Swamp Fox, Dubawi 50 14s. Endless Acre, Shrewd and Euchton Glen are 16s and we're 20s bar.
Away you go then, Frank.
Basically, this is the biggest anti-post bet I've had bar Flaming Spear for Royal Ascot. And it's the same owner. It didn't work out too well because of the herpes. But I think this Withhold is absolutely chucked in. Now, the one thing, the slight negative is the draw, 24. I would have preferred if he was maybe closer, maybe 15 or 16. But my case is, right, he was trained last year by Charlie Hills. Tony Bloom bought him for 170 grand, moved from Charlie Hills to Roger Charlton. Now, Roger Charlton's probably the hottest trainer around at the moment. I think he's over 40% for the past 2 weeks. This Withhold's form really took off and they stepped him up to 2 miles last year. He won a maiden first over a mile 5 at Bath, beating Arthur McBride, who's rated about 86 or 7 now. Then he went to Kempton, finished second to Blakeney Point. Blakeney Point was running off 77 that day. He actually won at Leicester during the week off 100, so he's going to go up to something like 104 and 5. On his next start, Withhold beat a horse called London Prize, who is about 16 or 20s for this. London Prize was running off 72. London Prize is now rated 95. Withhold is only £7 higher. Tony Bloom didn't spend 170 grand to have a placed horse in the Cesarevich. This has been the aim all year. If this was 15, I'd say get everything on it. But I've had a packet on it. I really can't see this being beaten. I know it's 34 runner handicap, but by Christ, this is going to go mighty close.
Oh, superb. Well done, mate. That was absolutely superb. Right, who wants to follow that? Keels.
Yeah, I'll follow that. No, brilliant case, and you can definitely see it. I mean, I've got a couple that I like each way. First one is Byron Flyer, who was second. I'm trying to find him now on the list. It's such a big long list. Who was second to Time to Study last time out at Haydock. Now that was his fourth second in a row, and he's been beaten in a photo each time, and some might knock him, but I think he just is improving. He's one of them stayers that keeps on improving. He's got a draw in stall 4 with a nice low draw next to the rail, and I think he'll go well. And I think Yukon Glen has been crying out for to go beyond 2 mile, and I think he'll be staying on really strongly as well. I will half be shouting home withhold for Frank Nowler.
That was absolute tipping porn, I've got to say. Brilliant.
We're actually 7 places in this race as well, Bruce. So
excellent.
Like, if he is out of the 7, Jill might be a widow.
Oh, no, don't say that. Don't say that. Come on, it's responsible gambling week. I hope you haven't had more than the fiver on Frank. Brendan, have you got a strong view on this race?
Well, I mean, not as strong as I had. Frank Hickey and the Lizard may be the 2 most successful punters I know about, so I'd be loath to oppose either of them. But like Keels, I really rated that Doncaster form where Byron Flyer was just touched off by Time to Study, and I didn't see much wrong with Time to Study again. I thought he was just always holding him. He's one of these tough, nutty Johnson horses. I thought he'd relish the step up and trip. Drawn 12, it's a pretty handy draw. I'll be surprised if he's out of the 7.
Do 3-year-olds go well in this, Brendan? Do they have much of a record in it?
Well, I don't actually know. I would have. I mean, I would have said that not many of them try. I know it's a race they can actually get into because it's such a huge field, but then it's such a savage stamina test. I know Mark Prescott had a filly that won the Doncaster Cup and then broke her pelvis in the race. She got beat. I don't actually know is the answer.
All right, then,
Two winners in the last 20
it.
years. Darley Sun was one of them. Can't remember the other one. And only 2 others have been placed in the last 10.
Oh,
yeah, the one thing I will say is we do a bit of work on our compiling and when we make mess ups, and this year we've noticed that the 3-year-olds getting their allowance in these staying handicaps, and even the likes of the Doncaster Cup, Google Cup, seem to have a massive advantage with the weight for age. But whether that'll play out here now is another thing. The one thing I will say is I did a little bit of I won't say a spat on Twitter, but someone was saying John Constable was a certainty. Now, I just wanted to make a case against that. He's rated 156 over hurls. I think he's running off 80. Was it 87 or 88?
Yeah.
Now people are saying, oh, he's thrown in relative to his hurls form. Now his hurls wins were in a Swinton hurdle, which I wouldn't rate, and Market Raisin, which is the equivalent of winning around Kilbeggan. When you compare that to the likes of Swamp Fox, who was second in a Galway hurdle, beating a neck off 148, he is a genuine 152 or 3 hurdler, and he's running off 90. Now, if you like John Constable, you want to be back in Swamp Fox, I think. I think he's a lot tougher. John Constable's improvement has been in what I would describe as relatively weak hurdles. I think when he ran in the proper top handicaps, he was found out, and I think he'll be found out again tomorrow.
Don't you worry, Frank. The only horse I'm backing in this race is Withhold. Okay, at 5:25, we're going to touch on this. It's not on telly, but it's a really good race. It's the Darley Club Stakes, a Group 3. Some good old favourites in here. Brendan, have you got a fancy here?
Yeah, a tough race, Bruce. I quite like the Forest Ranger. I thought he ran into a good one in Mustachery the last day at York and looked pretty. I'd be pretty confident he'll go well again here. It's a tough race, but I like him.
Kills?
Yeah, I quite like Sparkplug. Obviously won the Cambridgeshire last year. I think 9 furlongs at Newmarket. Suits him. It's a big enough field for him to get buried. Hopefully they go a decent enough pace. And yeah, I think it'd be very hard to kick out of 3.
And Frank, who will you be investing your Withhold winnings on?
I'd probably be up to my eyeballs in champagne at that stage, so I won't be having a bet.
Fair enough.